Good morning. I'm Liz. I am one half of the team at Rising Tide Women. We're having some technical difficulties this morning. We had tried to schedule our live so that people could know about it ahead of time, and we're still ironing out the process. I'm gonna see if I can get Lindsay on here. Good morning. For those of you who don't know us at Rising Tide Women or don't know what we do, hi Lindsay.
Hi.
We finally got it working.
All right, we always do.
Yeah, so I was just sharing a little bit about what we do for people who might not know us or what we do. Um, I mean, basically, we are like the pregnancy, birth, and baby go-to people, right? Like we um so we do support, education, community building from pregnancy all the way through really we say the first year of parenting, but really however long you need us. And we do that through birth classes, and we actually have a really exciting small group birth class coming up, which is something we don't offer very often. I'm really excited to do this with you, Lindsay.
Them too. It's going to be really fun, and we want people to snag their spots so that they don't miss out. We will offer it again, but it's okay to register earlier on in your pregnancy. We're not going to say that you have to take it around a certain time. We really want to work with your schedule and your life and what's going on. We all know that giving up 7 hours on a Sunday is a really big deal. But you're also spending it with us and learning about some things that you're not going to learn about in every birthing class.
Yeah.
They're not going to make you feel uncomfortable or squirmy, but hopefully we can brighten your outlook on
Mhm.
what to realistically expect during birth and the variations that go on during birth. And we think it's a really worthwhile way to spend
Yeah.
a Sunday. And you're out around 4:30. You can still do something. You can still watch a football game, all those good things. So November 18th in
Yep.
Norwell, and we'll post a link.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And our goal always, like, we want people to come out of our classes or out of their interactions with us feeling more confident and more relaxed than when they came in. So,
Yeah.
because sometimes I hear that about birth classes, like, oh, I went in and now I feel really nervous. And our classes are not like that. So that's our
Right.
plug. We're really excited about that. But we also do, Lindsay does birth support for most of our clients, and she does an amazing job. I do not just, but I only do scheduled cesarean birth doula clients because that's my specialty.
Yep.
Um,
Good
and
at
then
that.
we both do, I love it. It's my favorite. I love it. One of my favorites. It's hard to choose. But we do postpartum doula support. We do breastfeeding support. That's really my wheelhouse. I'm a international board certified lactation consultant, and actually the exam to certify the IBCLC exam, they only do twice a year, and the fall one was this week. So it's been really fun watching all of the like new IBCLCs, like, kind of online, kind of talking about the exam, and they're all breathing a sigh of relief right now. So
Yeah, no, it's a big deal.
it is. It is a big deal. And that, it's just like, that was me once upon a time. So,
Yep.
um, and so today we are talking about postpartum. And so can you tell us like what that word postpartum means? Because I feel like when we say postpartum, people have a whole list of like where their brain goes. But can you just clarify what are we talking about?
Well, I think there is some leeway with the word. When we talk about postpartum, I think initially we're talking about the first 3 months, but I think we can stretch that time frame to the first 6 months. I'm even willing to go as far as the first year after having a baby.
Yeah.
If anybody who's watching right now, if you want to chime in, please feel
Yeah.
free. I really love the interaction. I don't want you guys thinking that this is like, oh, we can't interrupt them, because you're not. You're joining a conversation. That's what we're doing. We're chatting. So join us. And I would love to hear from everybody else. Like, when you hear the word postpartum, what do you initially think of? Because a lot of people who aren't in the kind of birthy world that we're in, they might think of postpartum as something different, um, or really sad. And
Yeah.
we like to shed light on the postpartum period as a time of growth and learning about yourself and learning about your baby, and really blossoming into someone that you didn't even know existed. And we
Yes.
really honor your experience. So please
Yeah.
get in if you're having feelings about anything that we're discussing
Yeah.
today.
Definitely. And yeah, I think it's so important to just talk about that because I think we work in the birth world and we think of postpartum as a time period. It's, literally post is after and partum is birth. So it's just the time after you give birth. Um, but the connotation, the sort of cultural baggage that we have with that word is that for most of us, the only time we really hear that word is in the phrase postpartum depression or postpartum mood disorders. And we love to talk about that. I feel like it's so important to talk about that, but it's also important to talk about our language and just that, like, when we say we're postpartum doulas, you don't have to be having a mood disorder to hire a postpartum doula, and although it's certainly supportive care if you are, but um, like postpartum doulas are for everyone. Uh, so, I think that's really important to talk about. It's just like, it's literally just a time period. I still think of myself as postpartum, and my youngest is 6.
I know.
So,
I'm like, I'm, I still want to be with the postpartum people. Like, I don't want to leave that group yet. I love that group. Like, I didn't mind being postpartum. It was a great time to be snuggled up with my kids. And, I do look back and go, wow, I really was overwhelmed and I had great support. Things went smoothly, but I still was so overwhelmed and would have loved to have had a professional here with
yeah,
me to help me realize that I was doing a good job, and to help me figure out how to get some things done around the house. But
yeah,
we literally lighten your load. And if the laundry is bothering you because you know how much it builds up, I actually love doing other people's laundry. It makes me feel so good. It makes me feel
that's
good
amazing.
to wash your dishes and load the
Yeah,
dishwasher or empty it or sit on the couch with you and discuss your experience, or open up a box that's some new piece of gear that you got, and we sit on the floor and like look at this contraption going, good golly, let's figure this thing out. It's fun, and it's fun
yeah.
looking at your baby and saying like, you did this, like you made this, and let's revel in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like so much of what we do is like normalizing that experience and just being like, like, yeah, all those feels you're having are so normal and you're not the only one. I feel like so much of our work is just you are not alone, you know.
Yeah.
So, but specifically today, what we wanted to talk about, because we could talk about sort of the postpartum recovery and postpartum self-care. We could talk about this stuff forever. But today we wanted to talk about postpartum recovery after a cesarean birth. Um, and we've certainly supported a lot of new birth parents after a cesarean birth. I had a cesarean. Um, so I remember it well, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about like physical kind of recovery. Like what are kind of, do you have any tips? I know I have some tips if you don't right off the bat, but any tips for like caring for yourself I don't know. We'll talk about caring for baby after a cesarean birth. Um,
Right. Yes, O'Hara. Thank you so much
yeah,
for joining us. Um, well, so I feel like there are kind of two sides-ish to the cesarean recovery. And if I may, and definitely stop me if I am kind of like off in this.
yeah,
Um,
go.
would you, so I feel that some people who know that they are definitely going to have a cesarean birth early on in their pregnancy or at some point, but they have time to prepare, would that, I see a difference on the other side with the way that they
Yeah,
are prepared and they're set up for that and
yeah,
their recovery. When a cesarean is absolutely medically necessary and it happens during labor and things have to move quickly, I do find that that can disrupt the recovery in a different way because I feel like a
yeah.
lot of our emotions and
Hmm.
how we heal kind of all over. And
Yeah,
also those that have a planned cesarean and are mentally prepared and have gone through some counseling or whatever they need to do. I am so sure that there are emotional things that they have to work through as well.
but it's different.
But I would imagine it would be different. So
Mm,
when we think about a cesarean birth, and some people will um, be more comfortable talking about what exactly happens, and others are a little bit more uncomfortable with that. So I want to be careful how I word things. But the baby is born through an incision through the belly, and so when we think about that, that's not a walk in the park. That's not having um, a
it's not the easy
small,
way.
it's not the
I,
way. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
No.
I
What?
hate when people say that.
Okay.
Um,
No, never would think that. They are opening up layers and layers of your body to get to the uterus to carefully get your baby out.
mhm.
So, um, I used to be an operating room nurse for those that don't know that. So I've seen a good amount of intense surgeries. This isn't just going in and out and you're home. There are layers that they have to go through, and all those layers they have to heal. And
Yeah,
when whether this birth is planned or unexpected, your recovery is greatly impacted. So, whether you're still in the hospital or by the time you get home, you need to have things set up in a certain way so that you are not up and down the stairs all day.
yeah,
And that if you have other children, you have helpers. And if you're on your own because your partner has to be gone from the house long periods of time, I know you can do it. I know you are strong. I see some women or some, people after giving birth by a cesarean and they are up and about and they're like, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine." And
yeah,
sometimes like, "Okay, I don't want to tell you what you're feeling, but you don't have to do all of this." And
yeah,
then need weeks to recover.
yeah,
So, get into how to set yourself up, but we have to remember that this is a major surgery and you're given a baby on top of it who
yeah,
their own diaper can't feed themselves. Yes, you can put a baby on top of you and get to the breast, and those that are bottle feeding can be set up, but there's more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I think that distinction of like, if you have some time to prepare for it and sort of learn about what to expect, like, it is a different experience than if it's suddenly like you weren't expecting it, and they're both, both have their pros and cons, obviously, but I think like I just want to honor that, like, whatever your emotional journey is before or after, like, we want to create space for that story, whatever that journey is like, and really like, you know, some people are like fine with it. Some people are like, great, whatever you got to do. They feel totally okay with that, and
Right.
that is wonderful. And
Right.
some people are really heartbroken. I know I was, and I hear that story too. And so, like, it's okay to feel that way. However your birth goes, if it doesn't go the way you expected, it's okay to grieve the experience you thought you were going to have. You
Yeah, I
know,
can't say enough. Um,
yeah,
so when you get upset when people say that a cesarean birth is the easy way out, which that just blows my mind. Um, Also, when people say, well, be grateful that you and your baby are
at
alive
least you
and
have a healthy baby.
you at least have a healthy baby and you're alive. Like, wow, what a way to say like your feelings don't matter.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to see you in a situation that really meant something to you and it didn't happen and have the rest of us say, well, look at you, you're alive, you're here.
It's
That
like also like the like healthy parent, healthy baby. That's like the bare minimum. That is the lowest bar. Like that is
yeah,
the bare minimum. That's non-negotiable. The
I know
rest,
some of you are probably watching this going, these two ladies are insane. No,
we are.
like think about it. Think about when we say that we want a healthy baby and a healthy mom. You know? Like what are we saying to the world here that like our expectations need to be much higher, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, so I
Yeah.
that was like let's refocus. I like that you talked about setting yourself up because yeah, I know for me, like we lived in an upstairs apartment. And so I basically like once I got into the apartment after my cesarean, I was kind of stuck there. Not stuck, but it was hard to go up and down the stairs, And so I think like just kind of strategizing about that. Like if your bedroom's upstairs, do you need to maybe create a space downstairs where you can have access to everything? Can you call on your community, your friends, your family, who is around that might be able to support you? Because, if you were recovering from like having your appendix out, people would be caring for you because it's major abdominal surgery. This is also major abdominal surgery and you have a baby. So,
And sometimes you
um,
have two babies or three babies or four.
yeah,
Like I can't imagine. And also with the whole setting yourself up thing, I want people to know that if you don't feel that you have community or family or anyone that you want to reach out to or that's right there, you can, even if you've never been in touch with us before, but you know about us, you can contact us and say, I'm in the hospital right now. I had a cesarean. It was planned, it wasn't planned, whatever. I'd like to have you guys go to my house and get me set up so that when I come home, I'm as ready to go. That doesn't mean like, you can have us for when you are home, but I want people to know that like
yeah.
we can go to your house for a couple hours and really get things ready to go so that when you do walk in that door with your baby, you can sit yourself down, grab the remote or grab your laptop, Netflix it up, and like feel
Settle
good.
in. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like it's a bit of a fine line because after surgery, we want you to rest. Resting is what facilitates your healing. But also, the research tells us that people who have had a cesarean and take enough pain meds to be able to be up and moving around
Mm,
heal faster. That movement helps your body heal faster. But it's like, but you also don't want to overdo it. So
right,
it's a fine line. And just like we tell folks in labor, just like we tell folks in pregnancy, you got to listen to your body,
right.
So if you start getting sore, it's time to rest. you know, One thing that really surprised me actually, and I thought that I was like pretty well informed, but it really surprised me after my cesarean was that I still had that postpartum bleeding. Like I kind of thought that like the
It's
vagina stuff wasn't going to happen to me, you know? And, like,
like your placenta still has to go.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
but
piece there.
I was young at that time and I actually didn't know where that postpartum bleeding came from. I thought it came from the vaginal birth process. So I was like, whoa, what do you mean I gotta wear pads? Like, you
Yeah,
know, but it's so like heads up, that is a thing.
that is a
You
thing.
know it, and also that like because that happens, because you have that, it's a wound where your placenta has detached from your uterine wall. You still have the same restrictions about like nothing in your vagina for 6 weeks afterwards. And um, so that I think is, I know it was surprising for me, and
Sure.
I assume I'm not the only one. So, you
Right.
know,
Right. What I think about is all the bending and the movement that is required of us when we have a newborn. Something drops on the floor. I know how hard it was for me, and I had three vaginal births. Like, and I know what I would be like, oh, now I gotta
yeah,
grab. Like, never mind when you have major abdominal surgery, grabbing all of those things, and that kind of like bending and back and forth, and yes, we need to move, but it's very helpful. So in your postpartum recovery after a cesarean, you really do need to call upon some people to come in and help you out. Again, not because
yeah,
you can't do it, it's just that you really shouldn't be doing
yeah.
it all. You shouldn't be doing it all.
Yeah. And I love like I that idea of doing it all. I I really want to unpack that because I think that we have this idea that like, and we get told this too, that like women in other countries like squat and have their baby in the fields and then they're back to work instantly. And like, first of all, I'm sorry. I That's not best practice. Like that doesn't mean like that's how it's supposed to be. I think that folks who do that out of desperation, because they gotta eat. But I think also like, that like this idea that we're supposed to just like go right back to normal and be able to handle everything on our own, that is like bananas. This is not a realistic expectation, you know?
No,
It's
no, not at all. Not at all. We do
it's
not want you
absurd.
going back out into the fields after
No.
you have your baby. Like, stay stay on the couch. It's okay.
Yes, cue up that Netflix. This is your chance. You
Right.
never get to watch
There.
your guilty pleasure TV shows. This is your moment where
Right.
you get to watch Desperate Housewives of wherever as much as you want.
Or like whatever Kardashian. I don't
Yeah.
even know. Like, there's so many. Like, you have so many options when it comes to all that stuff, guys. Um Also, if somebody is coming over to help you out, it's okay to let them know before they come over. Hey, can you grab a box of diapers on your way? Can you grab these three groceries? Can you grab me a smoothie on your way? 'Cause
Yeah.
it would just be really helpful. Like,
Yeah.
like, speak up. Please don't. That's another part of the strength. And again, we're told that we don't want to bother people, and we really need to be polite. I
Your
want
people
you
want you to bother them.
to bother your people. Like, I want to know that you want a smoothie or a tea or a coffee or whatever before I get, let me know that. That would bring me so much joy to
Yeah.
make that stop for you, or to run into, Target or wherever. I may not come out for a couple of hours, but
A black
the
hole.
flip side, I brought you this candle and I brought you some, yeah, a pillow.
All the things.
I put you a plant. It's great. Um, but tell your people the things that you need before they come. It's really going to make a difference. It's going to brighten your day. It's gonna in the long run, it's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
Um, other things to know, um, I think this is a good recommendation for anybody who's having a baby, because we don't always know what's going to happen during birth. Have some comfy pants that don't hit right
Yeah.
at your like underwear. They call it like a bikini, incision, which is silly. Um, but where they're not going to hit the elastic. Make sure you've got comfy pants that can kind of still go
Hike them
over
up.
pick them up, like, just, yeah. um Other things would be some sort of slipper that is wide enough for you to get your foot in. You're going to get fluids. um
Hmm.
Most people who do give birth get fluids, but unless they speak up and have care providers that understand about drinking fluids
Yeah.
during birth, but you are going to get fluids
With a
during.
cesarean, certainly they give you
Yeah.
fluids. Yeah.
And your feet are going to swell. So that's how that ties in. We want you to be comfortable. And when you do get up to walk around the house, we don't want you slipping or anything like that. Even non-skid socks, I think, are a great thing to have. Or if somebody does have an unexpected cesarean, I think that that's a nice little treat for them.
Yeah.
Non-skid socks. Say that 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, you know, we're talking a lot about caring for yourself and setting yourself up. And that, I think that's largely because once you have a cesarean birth, and notice I'm saying cesarean birth, I don't really like the term C-section. Um, because like what does that even mean? But
Yep.
like it is a birth. You are still giving birth, and we want to honor that, and so after a cesarean birth, like we tend to get really caught up in the baby, and the birthing parent kind of gets forgotten in a lot of ways, and so we want to turn that focus back to you. And you are going to be worried about things like, are these pain meds I'm taking safe for breastfeeding? Spoiler alert, yes, they are. um, I mean, check with your providers if you have questions. But I used to work on a postpartum unit in a hospital, and all the meds we gave were safe for breastfeeding because we just, that's the standard. Um, and you're going to be worried about like, am I doing this right? And your postpartum doula or me, your IBCLC can help you with those questions too. But we also want to turn that focus toward you caring for yourself. Oh, did you freeze, Lindsay? I think maybe I'm frozen. I'm gonna keep going. But one of the things that they teach parents, support your belly when you're moving around. You're gonna feel like, yeah, I mean, when you stand up, it feels like your belly is just kind of unsupported. And so with like a pillow or something like that. Hey, Robin. So, yeah, I mean, just kind of really simple things. Like, I always tell parents to like set up a nursing nest where basically like you kind of claim like your favorite recliner or one end of the couch, and you kind of have your stuff around so that you can just sit and relax. You're going to be sitting a lot, especially if you're nursing. I always say breastfeeding is like nature's way of keeping you sitting on your butt. So, you're going to want to just kind of have your stuff nearby. Have water. Hi, you're back.
Hello. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm listening about your nest.
Yeah, and so you want to have, water, have something to drink nearby, have snacks, even if it's just like granola bars or protein bars, whatever you have handy, so that just if no one's around to be like, hey, can you bring me a snack? Which is a great job for partners, mother-in-laws, support people of all kinds. Um, but you have something right nearby that is going to fuel you, like something that is going to give you hopefully some like protein, some kind of fiber, something that's going to, fuel your healing. Um, Also have like a couple of diapers and a small pack of wipes there so you can do a diaper change kind of where you are without having to like get up and wander around, you know.
Right. Even a change of clothes for the baby.
Yeah.
Have all that. Think of all the most critical things that you would need within arm's reach, and have it all set up
Yeah.
wherever you are.
Yeah. And and you like your phone and the charger,
Charge.
remotes,
Yeah.
like all the things.
The important life's necessities.
I know,
Um, I mean, I love keeping snacks nearby me anyway.
I mean,
Um,
to be fair. Same.
I got snacks everywhere in my car. But yes, definitely be set up. Even, by the time you do, let's just say, get up to your bed, and when you're ready to be, in bed for the night, if you're doing that, have your supplies in a little basket next to your bed so that you don't have to get up.
Yeah.
Make sure all those things are right there. Baby change of clothes, burp cloths,
Yeah.
all of that, all of those goodies.
Hi, man. Yeah. And, I think it's important too. Like, I think a lot of people are surprised at how quickly they feel better. When you are able to take care of yourself, like, you're not going to feel 100%. You're not going to feel like you're back to your old self for probably several weeks. But, if you take good care of yourself, you're going to be surprised after like a week, 2 weeks. Every week, you're going to feel better and better. And I think that's important to remember too, that like this is a serious recovery, but also our bodies are amazing and their capacity. I mean, first of all, to like grow and then expel a tiny human, like that's pretty rad. But then
Pretty cool.
also to heal from, a surgical birth, I think it's really amazing that we can do that.
Yeah, I do too, and I do want to touch on the
Yeah.
emotional part of this, because whether it's a cesarean birth that you're expecting, or it's one that you're not expecting, um, we have the resources ready available to connect you to the right people to discuss this experience
Yeah.
with. I have sat with many, many postpartum people, and whether their birth goes exactly as they envisioned it or it didn't, there's a lot of talking and unpacking and unraveling from that
Yeah.
really intense experience. But I want to honor those that have a really unexpected birth outcome, and that we're there to listen, but also direct you to people who have even more knowledge about how to really help you um, grow from
Yeah.
that experience.
Yeah.
Our experiences change us forever.
Yes.
And, and we don't ever want to rush anyone back to their old selves, because I don't think that you really do truly return to your old self after you have any sort of a birth.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you don't move back, you move forward.
forward. You're
into a
somebody
whole new self.
new. You're somebody new. And and there's a place for that, no matter how it goes. But we also really want to just make sure that you should not feel alone and that we will help you no matter what, and not leave you and not leave your side emotionally, physically, until you need us. Like, we're there
Yeah.
to help you get through this major transition. Can we just like all recognize that having a baby is a really big deal?
Yeah.
You are strong, and yes, we recover pretty darn fast. Let's give mad props to all that. But it is a major life event,
Yeah.
and we diminish it and dismiss it as if you know people pop out babies and return to their normal lives. Like, no, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd want to just address Robin's question about a
Yeah,
second
yeah,
cesarean birth. And this is a really important question, actually, and it really ties in with what you were saying about that emotional piece of it. Um, that like if you've had a birth experience, if you've had a birth experience and it was a cesarean and it was a good experience, and a lot of folks do experience that, then great. But even then, you're going to have questions about the second time, and if you had an experience that was really difficult and it wasn't what you expected, the second time out it can be kind of a scary experience. So I want to first say that like VBAC, which is vaginal birth after cesarean, is a valid choice for most women, or most birth giving parents. So if unless you have been told specifically that you are not a candidate for VBAC, I'm a big fan of just exploring that possibility. And ultimately, not everyone is going to choose to VBAC, and that is
right.
okay. That needs to be okay too. Some people say,
Yeah,
you know what, it's too emotionally fraught. It feels too scary. And looking at the pros and cons, I'm going to opt for another cesarean. And I think sometimes those people get a little shade thrown at them because we have weirdness and we love to judge women. Um, but I think that that is a really valid choice. And I've seen women. I'm a VBAC mom, and Lindsay, I know, has supported a lot of VBAC. Hi, am I back?
yep,
So, um, so I was saying, I'm a VBAC mom, and
yep,
you've supported many VBAC clients, Lindsay. So, we've seen women who have chosen to go the VBAC route and rocked it and had it be this really healing, triumphant experience. Um, we've also supported women who have chosen to have a repeat cesarean and had that be a really healing, empowering
yeah.
experience. Uh,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And I just think that I just want to make space for whatever that journey looks like. And that, the kind of added layer of recovering from a cesarean, if you've had a prior one, is that you had an older kid running around.
That's my, yeah, I'm thinking about like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
is so, that's amazing. Like, to be after a toddler or two,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah,
So then you got to think about like, okay, who's going to be on toddler duty or who's going to be on big sibling duty, because sometimes they're older than a toddler.
and also like, or who's going, if those kids are older and they're in some sort of daycare or preschool or
Who's
have to
driving
be
them?
driven, well, like, who's going to get them
Yeah.
from point A to from home to where they're going and back? You can't necessarily drive right after
Yeah.
a cesarean birth, so
Mhm.
you kind of have things set up.
Yeah. And I want to just also like take a second and honor that, like, when we say ask for help, line up your help, there's a certain amount of privilege involved in being able to
Right.
do that. And we recognize that not everyone is going to have access to that, and that there are folks who they have no choice but to do it on their own. And I just want to say, if that's you, you can reach out to us and we will see what we can possibly do, hook you up with resources. But also just that, like, sometimes it's just you and you have to do what you have to do. And I just want to honor that, and I don't know how to fix that other than like mass societal change about the way that we treat new parents. But,
Mhm.
it's some of this is not accessible for everyone, and we
Right.
believe that it should be.
We do feel that it should be, and we also hear from a lot of people in all sorts of different situations, and we do the best that we can to either connect them to people who are equipped to help in those situations. We also do what we physically can to help folks out. I mean, that's the really important part, is that we all pitch in and try to help each other out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
that's one of the reasons we run our free support group in Eastham, and we're working to expand that. We're trying to figure out how
Yep.
to make that work. But that's one of the reasons we do that, is because we recognize that not everyone has access to,
Right.
private in-home care, and we want to be able to provide some kind of a support network for everyone.
Right. Because even from the groups, you can build some friendships, and then those people might be able to do what they can to help you out. So it going to the group is a really important thing. I mean, we're looking to expand even on the Cape and onto the South Shore with our groups. So
Yeah.
the right side women um, way of life, um, it's it's it's
Getting out there.
scattering out there. It's getting bigger because we do want this to
Yeah.
be a way of life. We want people to say, um, I've connected with them at Rising Tide in one way or another,
Yeah.
and let it have this effect, this ripple effect that reaches out across the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so I hope that answers your question, Robin. That was a long answer. Um,
Maybe we should get coffee sometime, Robin.
I know, like yes, please, absolutely. But yeah, so I want to respect everybody's time,
Yep.
and so I want to wrap up. But clearly, we have more to say on this topic. So okay, awesome. So, tune in next week. We'll be talking about pregnancy next week, right?
Yep,
And
we're circling back to pregnancy. So if anybody has a topic that they want more information on, or they want to hear us
want us to
discuss,
jam about, yeah.
what do you want us to talk about? So next week it's pregnancy. Also, what we do is we're going to take this live video, we're going to put it in a blog, and we're going to write even more about this. And those get posted on Monday.
Yeah.
So jams on Wednesdays, blogs on Mondays. Stay tuned, stay with us, pass it on, tell your friends. And don't forget, we've got a birth education class. We call it Unlearning. Um, that is November 18th at the South Shore Perinatal Wellness Center in
Yeah.
Norwell. We've got the link on our page. Sign up and let's have some fun.
Yeah, and we're registering. Registration is open now for our next round of lifeboats, which is for February and March due dates. So if you know someone who's
Love
due in February or March, share our page with them. We would love to connect. And yeah, have a
it.
beautiful day, people.
Have a great day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.